Okay. All right. So welcome to this session. This is a Dell session that is going to illustrate how we simplify the infrastructure and we give value to our customer because of the simplification that we are introducing in the infrastructure management and the integration that we provide for our infrastructure with the Microsoft System Center. You will have a different speaker. My name is Enrico Bracalente. We will have Tushar Oza and Greg Ramsey that will drive through several demos. So there will be some practical demonstration of what we preach. It's not just theory, it's real stuff. Okay, so say that. We will keep the questions if there are any questions at the end of the session. So keep them, and then at the end of the session, we'll open up for all the questions that you might have. All right. So we have heard today a lot of, today and yesterday, Brad talking about cloud, talking about simplification, talking about business, talking about a lot of things. However, I wanted to start this presentation just showing how the business aspect in system management is becoming so critical. What does it mean? That the real driver for the cloud or the real driver for virtualization is to be more responsive, more, let's say, proactive in order to support the business request. So we have the business department, so marketing, sales, and all manufacturing, that are driving the requirement to the IT department. So this is a kind of shift if you analyze the last 20 years of what happened in the market. Basically, 20 years ago, the data center was just something that was considered like a cost center, was something that was draining money and producing very little result for the company. Then it moved up to be a little bit the measurement of the performance that we were able to achieve as a company in terms of IT and how the report were given faster to the business and so forth. And finally, in these days, it is becoming a differentiator in terms of being more competitive inside the market arena. Just an example, if you keep your inventory much more, let's say, under control, there is a cost impact for the company. If you have your production schedule that is much faster, you have an impact. And if you have sales data that are readily available to all the sales representatives, you have a competitive advantage. Say that, and understanding what is the relevance of business and the big connectivity of business and IT, let's see what are the major trends that we have seen in the last period of time that are dominating our interest in the IT department. First of all, we have the cloud. The cloud has been like a big storm in the sense that we need to make sure that our legacy tool work with new tools. We have requests for being much faster in terms of responsiveness. Then we have the data growth in terms of how many data we need to take into consideration inside a company. So we need to analyze this data. We need to transform something that is raw in something that makes sense in order to take some decision. And then we have heard today mobility and consumerization, and then fabric infrastructure, meaning the need for a convergent infrastructure, meaning all of the infrastructure, storage, network, and compute to be managed under the same umbrella. And then we see the need that has been driven by virtualization that is leading to the dynamic allocation of resources, meaning the application that is moved from one location to another and a storage that needs to be shared among different applications and so forth. And virtualization. These are some of the big trends that are happening today that are changing the paradigm inside the IT departments. Now, in order for these things to happen, there are few enablers that we need to take into consideration. First of all, we need to enable simplicity. Then integration, so all the new or big management system with what we have developed in-house. Automation, that is the the big secret, because you need to do things faster and less error prone. And then scalability. Scalability means a lot of things, but scalability means that today I want to have the right resources for my usage. I don't want to have more, I don't want to have less. Tomorrow, I want to be tuned to the need of tomorrow. So one note on simplicity. I was reading an article some time ago that was quite interesting, because it was saying that when the functionality in a system is growing, let's say 25%, the complexity on that system is growing of 100%. So 25% more feature on a system or functions, you have 100% increase in complexity. What does it mean? Complexity is very much related to manageability. If you don't manage that level of complexity, you are prone to failure, and failure is a cost. So there is a kind of link between complexity and cost. So simplicity becomes a real need in today's environments. Okay, say that, just a quick summary of the challenges that you experience every day, from respond quickly to workload dynamics, from the simplified management that everybody wants to achieve, and then something that is much more related to the cost. You want to lower the cost of operation, the cost of software, hardware, and so forth. So there are two main areas. One is the response to the business, and the other one is to lower the cost. Just for your information, the response to the business is the one that is much more linked to the cloud, and that is what is the big drivers, according to Gartner, to the adoption of the cloud. Okay, let's see what is happening in the data center then. So you have basically a lot of more work to do with less resources. They are always stressing in terms of budget, but you have also your department, from the sales to the manufacturing, from the marketing to R&D, that are demanding more service, more things. So that is the dilemma, if you want. You need to do more with less. All right, so how did Dell try to approach the solution of these problems and these challenges? First of all, we have been listening to our customer. This is one of the big strengths that is historical for Dell. We get in touch directly with our customers, and in the last generation of our PowerEdge servers, we have been in touch with the 7,700 customers and even more, in order to understand and bring to market the solution that they really needed. So first of all, we listen to our customer. Then we created solutions that are open and flexible. So open means that in the system management, you are not locked in a specific standard. We are open, we are integrated, we work, and we will see later on the demos with the Microsoft System Center. We are working with all the major consoles that are there in the market in terms of system management. So, and then we have technology, what we say, that simply works, meaning we want to deliver result very, very fast to your need, meaning you have the chance to increase the automation of the tasks. You can deploy much faster. You can deploy, let's say, an OS with less attended steps. And this is a practical result, a practical example of what you can achieve and what we mean in terms of simply works. And then we want to be innovative. Basically, what happened is that we launched about 3 years ago what we call intelligent technology inside our server. That means we had embedded management with our lifecycle controller, and today is iDRAC with lifecycle controller, that are creating something that is really innovative and really changing the paradigm in the industry. And we started 3 years ago, so we are the leaders, as Brad was saying today. Take the lead, be a leader. And we started, as I said some time ago, in our 11th generation of a server, the PowerEdge, are already all with this intelligence inside. And we'll talk a little bit later to explain what it is about. All right, so I think that if we can summarize the major areas where our innovation is playing, we can identify 3 different areas. One is the maximization of the efficiency. This means in practical numbers that a customer of ours was telling us that using that specific lifecycle controller technology with the iDRAC with lifecycle controller, they could save, let's say, 43 days in administrative time in their environment. That means less face time when you update, less face time when you deploy, and so forth. Then we are able to deliver quicker business results, meaning we have checked our OpenManage solution with the Microsoft System Center, and we have seen that to deploy a physical OS, we take 85% less time with the lifecycle controller if compared with another method that doesn't use the lifecycle controller. And we will show later what it means. So 85% less time in deploying is something that helps a lot. So, and then we want to ensure business continuity. This is a big headache. We want the application up and running 99.99, 10 times, whatever is the number that your service level agreement is allowing, but we want to have a time that is very, very minimum across the year. So the rapidity with which we are going to update or deploy or to maintain the system when there is something wrong needs to be in line with the maximization of business continuity. All right, so our point of view, just to go back to what we said at the beginning, the 4 elements that were making the differentiation and were creating efficiency. Integration, scalability, simplification, and automate. So this is basically our core, these are our core tenets. This is what we are trying to implement when we talk about OpenManage, that is our portfolio product for system management, and we provide solution for our customer. Integration means that we don't want to spend money to buy a new system management solution if you have that solution already in-house. If you have a Microsoft System Center, you can keep on using Microsoft System Center, and our PowerEdge servers can be immediately brought inside the data center. They can be up and running, and they are already integrated, and you can take a full advantage of the capabilities that we have embedded in terms of management inside our servers. Scalability, as I said earlier, you want to use the right amount of resources at the time when you want, meaning you don't need to oversize your data center now for 3 years. I mean, taking into consideration what happens 3 years from now. So you want now the capacity and the resources that you need today. And then you want simplification. I cannot stress more this point. Our presentation is about simplification of the infrastructure. Simplification is key, is a core because complexity is growing so much. And automation. Automation is the underneath, if you want, fabric that allows you to achieve the simplification, the scalability, and the integration. Okay, so just to go a little bit more in what we mean in terms of system management. So system management in Dell is starting from the foundation that is built-in intelligence inside the box. So this is telling me something very important. The next time that you want to solve a system management problem for your company, you need to start thinking of system management from the moment when you buy your server. Because putting intelligence in the server means that you will have an advantage in your system management, in the solution of your system management equation, because you can take advantage of this intelligence that we put in the server. So this is the first thing to remember. When you think when you can influence the purchasing department or whoever, bear in mind that the choice of the server is reflecting upon your system management solution later on. So, as I said earlier, we were first in the market with this technology that is we call internally embedded management, but is something that you will see later on how it works in terms of helping the deployment, update, and monitoring. Inside out value, because the value starts from the box itself and is coming up at all the layers of system management. When you want to talk about application management, you want to talk about business service management, you want to talk about orchestration, everything starts from the very core that starts at the bottom of the big pyramid. And everything needs to be integrated and inclusive. As I said, we want you to preserve your investment. We want your system management solution, in-home solution, or from third-party vendors to work with our system management portfolio. So just a quick snapshot of what we provide to our customer. The core of our system management solution is around OpenManage. OpenManage is the name of our portfolio that is providing tools, utilities, and console in order to provide manageability for the infrastructure. And we have consoles. We provide a console that is built from Dell, or the integration with all the consoles the major consoles that are in the market today. Then we provide, from the very center of our competence, that is the hardware management, we provide the support for services, our services. We provide tools and utilities for whoever wants to have a solution built by themselves, meaning you have already your script, you have already your solution, and we provide tools that can be easily integrated there. And then, as we were talking about integration with the major third-party consoles or connection with some of them. The differences between connection is just the capability to monitor. The integration is the capability to manage, meaning update, deploy, and monitor. All right, so at the core of our portfolio, there is exactly the life cycle of the server. That means the deploy, the update, monitor, and maintenance. We will see later what this means. But the impact of our portfolio is exactly on the reduction of the complexity, the increase of the efficiency, and the empowerment of the productivity. So just in a few examples of what we created and is available today, along with our last generation of servers, we have provided, as I was mentioning earlier, what we call iDRAC 7 with Lifecycle Controller 2.0, that for the first time allows you to operate in what we call out-of-band, meaning without the need of an operating system or an agent in order to perform the function. And you can deploy, you can update, and monitor your server without the operating system that is active or any agent that is active there. So it is interesting, and we'll see a little bit later what it means, that basically you can stage an update and you can kick it in whenever you want, at the time that you want, because you can operate without interfering with what an agent or an OS could be doing, and you can go straight to the physical layer and provide a BIOS update and a stage there, and that can kick in at the moment that you decide to update your server. The second solution that is very relevant is the new console that is called OpenManage Essentials. OpenManage Essentials is based exactly on our mantra of simplicity. It's easy to use, easy to install. Is something that is coming with our servers, so there is no charge for it, and it's very complete, and we received a lot of positive feedback from all the customers that used it in beta and are using now as a product. And the third big thing that we have done also at the moment when we launched the last server generation was to refresh our third-party integration, and we will see today how we are allowing to system center user to take advantage of this out-of-band monitoring. Tushar will speak about our system center operation manager now can monitor something that is not using a Windows OS or an hypervisor that is Hyper-V. So there is a scenario where you want to have, for instance, Operation Manager as the central monitoring solution in your company. Well, you have those servers there that are not Microsoft. They are from somebody else. How can I update the BIOS there if I have not even, for some hypervisor, I don't even have an agent that I can install there. So how can I go there? So that is the practical advantage that monitoring out of band or managing out of band with a CCM, you can update that very server, or you can monitor with the Operation Manager because of this lifecycle controller capability that allows you to get there without the need of an agent. So I think that this is just a summary of what you get with this second generation of embedded lifecycle management. And basically, I don't go all across all the little things little big things that we are doing. But I want to point out, because this is very relevant for System Center, at the very top on the deployment side, we have tested with a third party that we are saving 85% in terms of administration time when you use System Center with our integration for System Center. There is a product called Dell Lifecycle Controller Integration for Configuration Manager. And with that, you can decrease the time of deployment of 85%. You can remove the Pixie boot in the process of deploying and so forth. And then 86% less manual steps, meaning less error, more automation. And then the same kind of advantage is also on the update side. And I will not go into many details because we will have demos on this stuff, so I will try to run a little bit here, to rush a little bit faster. Okay, and then I want to point out one thing that is very relevant for the monitoring side. As I say, the monitoring without an agent, meaning that you can go and monitor everything that you have in your environment without the burden of certifying an agent or having to keep it updated all the time that there is a release from the vendor in order to have that capability to monitor. So we came out with a nice way to say that you can fire your agent and you can manage in a much easier way and less cumbersome way. And also another element that is relevant in terms of improvement is the maintenance of your system. With the lifecycle controller, we have the capability to allow you to remove, to replace a part or even the motherboard, and the configuration of that specific part or of the motherboard itself is stored in the lifecycle controller. There is an extension for the motherboard that is the flash card that is with the lifecycle controller. And you, as soon as you replace the part, the firmware is flashing in ready at the time when you reboot to take the configuration that was of the previous card that you have replaced or the motherboard. So this means that you are not going to go around with the floppy or whatever DVDs or whatever you need, and you don't need to remember what specific configuration was there. Everything is stored in terms of configuration in the lifecycle controller. So this is a practical advantage in the maintenance side in terms of automation, quick, you minimize the downtime, and you are going to be very fast back to productivity. So these are the big, let's say, advantages that we want to bring up to your attention. Now, what we have done with Microsoft System Center, a lot of things. We have started many years ago. We integrated with MOM, we integrated with SMS, we integrated with the 2007, and now we are integrating with the 2012. So since I already expressed this in-band and out-of-band, meaning we are able to operate with an agent or without an agent, with an OS that is up and running or without, we have started our deployment, update, and monitor and virtual management in the in-band, meaning using an agent. And nowadays, as you can see on the arrow at the very bottom, with the integration with lifecycle controller, we are creating the same integration in an out-of-band way, meaning you can now update out-of-band, you can monitor out-of-band. We will also take into consideration, and we are in the development phase of the integration of our lifecycle controller also with the SCVMM that is becoming very central now in the spectrum of the Microsoft System Center solution. So I think that this is giving the full snapshot of what we are doing with OpenManage, Microsoft System Center, and the integration between the two and the advantage that you can that you can get. So I think that I pass to share the. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
you can have now all the demos of the nice things that we have been talking about.
Thank you, Enrico. So what we'll look at is some of the implementations, the live demos of our products, because we have the terms, the agent-free, the slideware, that's all fantastic. But until you see the real proof in the pudding, or when the rubber meets the road, that's where the actual advantage is. So here are just a few of the actions that you would see in the past in your data center and what you're doing today with some of the Dell solutions, right? You would have higher deployment costs. You would have problems with server failures and how do you recover from them. You would have your workloads that are going down, probably running on your virtual machines, and because of some hardware failure, now your workload is suddenly disappearing. So how do you manage those workloads? And how do you make sure that, for example, the motherboard replacement that Enrico was talking about, how do you make sure that you have this $5 an hour tech guy who can simply go and replace the motherboard, not have to worry about any configurations or anything, just unscrew the old motherboard, screw in the new one, and you're up and running. All of that is automated through our iDRAC with lifecycle controller technology, right? The embedded management that we've put in our servers. So at the end of it, we want to make that collaborative approach and not those siloed approach between config manager admin and ops manager admin, a VMM admin, and things like that. Just real quick, these are the solutions that are available today. Instead of drilling down, I'll direct you to our dell.com/system center website where all of these integrations are posted and available. The basic management, as Enrico pointed out, we provide it free of charge, so it's available today for your use with System Center. And I'll dive into the demo. And so first, let's look at, you received your brand new hardware from Dell, right? No operating system, nothing. And how do you deploy an operating system onto that box just sitting at your desk? You saw Vijay Tiwari drinking his coffee and all the deployments going on yesterday. Well, that's very similar to what we do over here. Oops. Okay. So at a high level, what it does is in a System Center Configuration Manager, you receive your new hardware, you rack and stack it, and again, that $5 an hour guy can rack and stack it for you, plug in the network cable and the power cable. You don't even have to turn on the server, right? It's ready and available in SCCM. It automatically shows up, what we call auto discovery, right? It just shows up as a collection in SCCM. Let me quickly pull the network cable so I can log in. Sorry. Okay. We are in business. Okay, and we'll look at how that system shows up in SCCM, and then just by a few clicks, you can deploy the operating system of your choice onto that box. So this is the famous SCCM console, and we have the 2007 demo on here, but the 2012 integration pack works as well. Trust me on that. It's just the setup that I had to receive from my lab. There are two things. One is assume that you already have systems in your environment, right? You're using System Center. It's not always necessary that you'll have new boxes coming in. You already have a set of environment, and you have to maintain those as well. You have to patch those systems. And it's not necessary. I mean, back in the days, everything was Windows with System Center. Well, we have, with our embedded technology, embedded lifecycle management, you can patch even a non-Windows operating system, right? Or a box with a non-Windows operating system, ESXi, Linux, your favorite box. So what I have here is these two boxes that are imported. these were already in the environment, and I just import them. And these are bare metal systems that I would deploy the operating system to. So the way you would do it is, and if I can zoom in, there is the launch configurability. You will see when you right-click on the collection, you will see the Dell Lifecycle Controller, and you will see the launch configuration utility. You just launch that utility, and it brings up your menu of things that you can do with the Dell Lifecycle Controller integration. So among various things, let me just quickly highlight. Among various things that you can do, you can create your new boot media, do your hardware configuration. So it's not always necessary that your hardware comes into the data center with the right set of BIOS, RAID, NIC configs, right? You need to configure those things prior to deploying your operating system or your hypervisor of your choice. So you can do all of those configurations. In fact, our own Dell IT, right, and I have Greg Ramsey here, so he can keep me honest. We require that we baseline on a certain update that has been tested and approved in their lab, and it's not necessarily always the latest and greatest that is available from the vendor. And I'm sure some of you have that kind of requirement in your data center as well. So what you can do is, and this is, I can go out and say this is the industry first, that you can actually patch your hardware even before the operating system is on there. How cool is that? Right? You can patch your hardware to whatever the BIOS version, the firmware version, the NICs, the iDRAC, right? Whatever version you want, you can put that on that, and before you can deploy the operating system. So that's some of the stuff that we do. We have customers that want to sort of look at the hardware inventory, sort of see what's available so that I can put the right workload on the remote box. Remember, this is some remote data center. Your $5 an hour tech guy is racking and stacking the boxes, and it's not necessary that you always know the inventory of hardware that you have in your box. So those are some of the things. Now let's just look at the OS deployment process. And hopefully it's visible. If not, I can zoom in. I think it's pretty good. For this demo, I'm not going to do the firmware update. It's kind of like watching paint dry. I mean, it's going to take some time to do the firmware updates. So let's not. But I'll demonstrate the firmware update in the later demo. Yeah, can we hold the questions for then? If it's okay, thank you. So I'm not going to do the firmware update at this point. And let's assume I have to configure my BIOS. Now, what you can do is either you can configure the BIOS of this box, or typically what we have is you have this kosher box that has the right BIOS configurations. You just load that BIOS template. Let's say my sample template, which is for enabling virtualization. So I'll use that. I'll just zoom in. It's the sample template, and sorry, I'm doing the 12G, so I'm going to use the 620 BIOS. Sample virtualization enablement BIOS profile template that I'm going to apply on this box. Okay, so you just choose that profile, click next. So this is, if you think about it, it's sort of that cloning feature that, you would have heard about. You just clone your entire environment from this one kosher box, right? You just apply it across the environment. The same thing holds for RAID. If you have a standard RAID config, you can just use that and, okay, sorry, I don't have the right RAID profile, so I'm going to skip this for the moment. And then you can configure your network adapters. For example, for those of you familiar with NPAR, NIC partitioning, you can do all the NIC partitioning, especially when you talk about virtualization, right? It's really important. You can do all your NIC partitioning prior to deploying the operating system. And then configuring your iDRAC for the right user credentials or Active Directory integration and things like that. And then this is the key piece that we were alluding to with our lifecycle controller. You can choose. You want Windows operating system, you can deploy the Windows operating system. You want Hyper-V on there, you can choose that. You want a non-Windows operating system from SCCM, you don't have to change your tools with Dell. Right? You can continue to use your System Center Configuration Manager and deploy any operating system of your choice. So over here, let me just say that I would, ESXi5, since it's a Microsoft event, I'll say it's a Windows OS that you want to install. So, and then you would click next and, the Windows deployment. Now, the OS deployment is going to take a long time. So for this demo purposes, trust me, when I click next, or let me just show it to you, right? For example, my ESXi5. You can put all your, root passwords and whatever you want to set up, your IP addresses and default gateways. Click next. Oops. Okay, let me put Dell, enable DHCP. You click Next, and you provide your network ISO. Now, this is the same thing for Windows operating system as well. You provide your network ISO that you have, or you can even embed it on the vFlash that is available along with the Dell servers. And you just say reboot the target collection. Now, I'm going to reuse I already have the stuff going on, so I'm going to reuse that box. I'm not going to reboot this box right now. But that's the stuff we were talking about, automating the OS deployment, right? Now, obviously, the next thing is you have deployed your OS, your workloads. You want to monitor the box on an ongoing basis. Now, back in the days, you would monitor the box only with your boxes that had Windows operating system, because you had to have an agent. Well, remember what Enrico talked about and what Kevin talked about yesterday, for those of you who attended the sessions yesterday. We have taken the agent out of the box. It's all agent-free management, right? You can monitor your Dell boxes regardless of the operating system or the hypervisor that's running on top, right? And what that does is, in your environment, you don't have to change your console of choice. You're used to using System Center for your operations, continue using that. Right? Or you're used to using some other console, which is fine too. I'm talking about System Center mostly here to show, I'm assuming folks at MMS are more interested in System Center, but you have other consoles. We have integrations with other major consoles as well. So let me quickly go over to how do you monitor the hardware health with our System Center 2012 Ops Manager in a multi-vendor OS and hypervisor environment. So if I can quickly switch over to my other box. Okay, so, and by the way, this program is currently in beta. Our solution is going to come out pretty soon. So for those of you interested in participating in the beta with System Center 2012, feel free to reach out to me after the session. I'll give you my cards. You can get in touch with me so I can put you on the beta list. I think some of you have already contacted me at our Dell booth, but I'll be glad to hand out more cards. So the first thing is you create a smash discovery. You have smash devices. Remember some of the stuff that Brad Anderson was talking yesterday about standards-based management, IPMI, DCMI, and using the smash protocol. So this is what you would do for discovering your what we call the 12th generation of PowerEdge servers that are smash enabled. You would select the target, so that will be all the management servers in your resource pool. And you can choose your own target. You can say just the Active Directory, the systems that are enabled with Active Directory assignment, or some other pool that you want to create. Then you provide your credentials to the device, and this is the credentials that you provide for your iDRAC, the all popular root Calvin, so those of you who work with iDRAC that remember. If not, you can you can even use your service account that you use in the Active Directory to sort of connect with the iDRAC. And then over here, now these are some of the devices that I've already discovered for the demo purposes, so that we don't have to watch paint dry, but you could add more devices. You can just click add, provide either a list of IP addresses or even an IP range. Say that, go ahead and discover all these IP ranges. I'm not going to do that to clog my network. And that's pretty much it, right? So all the devices show up here, the devices that are discovered. Now what you do is, once you have those smash-enabled devices discovered in your System Center Operations Manager, you go over and we have simplified further the installation of our management pack. With our System Center 2012 management pack, we'll have something called the Feature Management Dashboard. It's just a simplified view of all of the Dell management packs that you have in SCOM. Remember, back in the days, and for those of you familiar, you'd have to go to the administration tab and look at the management packs over here. Okay. Yeah, so all the management packs will be listed here, and you would have to probably search for Dell. Well, we simplified it, right? It's all available in the Feature Management Dashboard. It even tells you what's installed, what's in use currently, and things like that. Just let me zoom in real quick. Okay. Now, once you have the Dell Management Pack installed, those two boxes that we're looking at, you will see that it shows up in the SCOM console. Refresh. Okay. Let me just go. So we know that your Dell hardware has shown up. Oh, by the way, something is going on. there's a red cross, right? That there's something critical going on in an environment. You just drill down, see what's going on. You'll find that, okay, there is a power supply. There is a problem with the power supply. So you right-click on the box. You just open your alert view and say, okay, what's going on here? And you'll find, voila, there are two alerts right there. One is the power supply is in the critical state, and you will get all the details, alert details, either in the bottom screen, or you can right-click and look at the properties of this alert, and you'll find out, what are the various reasons why this could have failed, what are the resolutions that you can use, and what's the history around these alerts, what's the context and stuff like that. So we have also a temperature alert warning. So you have something going on in the data center, probably your fan has failed. I mean, the temperature always does not necessarily mean that it's something going on, like the system is heating up, but it could be a fan has failed or your AC has gone out and things like that. So you look at those alerts in the data center. And then here are your systems that are shown out of band. Remember, we deployed the operating system. The way to do it is, you can simply launch the remote access control from SCOM context, so you don't have to leave anything, and put in your root Calvin, the most secret password on earth. Okay. And here's the proof in the pudding, right? I logged in and there it is. VMware ESXi, that's what I'm running on this box. And you're monitoring that from SCOM. How cool is that, right? Okay, so deploying and monitoring is half the story. You still need to update the box. So you need to keep it patching. And you still need to, so I'll quickly go back to my other System Center Config Manager console right here. Okay. So you still need to make sure that the box is up to date with the latest patches. So you just right click and let's say I'll choose just this one box, right? And I want to patch it for making sure that the right updates are available. So I just do a firmware inventory. I pull the firmware inventory from the box, check it against, let's say I have a PDK catalog. For those of you familiar with our repository manager tool, the PDK catalog is generated using, you can slice and dice based on your environment. And I have over here, sorry, it's a long IP address, I have to copy this. Okay, and Dell demo, administrator, Dell 123. Okay. It picks up that catalog and says, okay, here are the things that are not compliant with what you have in your environment, right? So either things could be older than the baseline or the things could be newer than the baseline. Remember, I talked about how Dell IT wants to make sure that if they receive the latest and greatest system, it's not necessary that they want that level of firmware. They might down rev it. So you use that catalog and say, okay, when do I want to apply these updates? It's not always necessary that you want to reboot the box right away. There might be workloads running, people using the boxes, right? You can either reboot right away if you want to. You can start it on the next boot. So lay down the bits on the hardware, and whenever the system reboots, it will pick up those latest updates and update your box. Or you can schedule saying that, 3 a.m. in the morning, there is nobody in the university except Sally. She goes to the university at 3 o'clock. That's what she told me. And I want to apply the updates. There's nobody using the boxes, so let's go ahead and apply the updates, right? So you could do that as well. And then you would click update, and I'm not going to do that. It's destructive operation in my environment at this point. Somebody's using it. You apply the updates, and it's ready to go. Well, we have updated the box. We deployed the operating system. We are monitoring it. And remember, we talked about virtualization. You have VMs running on the box. And because we are out of time, I'm going to skip on the ProPack demo. I don't have the setup running right now. I do have the video demo, and you can stop by after our session here, and I'll be glad to walk over this ProPack demo in our booth, the Dell demo booth. But just to real quick, the video that we captured from our environment. So you receive a pro tip. Remember the temperature sensor that detected warning? You receive the pro tip. So you implement the pro tip to migrate the workloads, and you look at the job status. It's now implementing the pro tip, and the pro tip is migrating this VM. This is a VM. So now it's under migration, and this is all live migration, so there is no downtime. From an end user perspective, there is, it's very transparent. They have no idea where the VM is running or what box it's running on, right? So this is very advantageous when we talk about private cloud or public cloud. All of this transparency from an end user perspective is very important. And then we put the system that was bad in maintenance mode so that you can do your whatever corrective actions are needed in the data center and sort of put it back into production quickly. With this, I'll hand it over to Greg to walk over some of his stuff. One more? Okay.
One more. All right, thanks, Tushar. Okay, so my name is Greg Ramsey. I'm one of the Dell IT guys. I'm one of the guys that manage Configuration Manager for Dell, as well as some other accounts we manage. Just really quick, how many of you are using Configuration Manager today? Just curious. Okay, great. All right, so I just want to quickly talk through the tools that we offer specific for integration for Configuration Manager, and just make sure you're all aware of them. And by the way, mention they're all free. So everything up here with the integrations with Configuration Manager, you can download, provided you're using Dell hardware, of course. So a couple of these I'll actually demo, so I'll talk briefly. A couple of them you've already heard about. Repository Manager I'm going to show you. So it's a quick way to download BIOS firmware and other things, and I'll show you one way you might leverage those in an OS deployment task sequence. The server deployment pack I'm also going to show you. It can be used hand in hand with the Lifecycle Controller for OS deployment through Configuration Manager task sequences. There's some integration points there. You've seen the Dell Lifecycle Controller. And custom factory integration is something else we offer with Configuration Manager. You might be familiar with the pre-staged media feature of Configuration Manager. You can create pre-staged media for either a client OS or a server OS, send that to Dell, and Dell will apply that operating system in the factory, so that when it boots up, you'll continue your Configuration Manager task sequence there. We also offer what we call a standalone media solution, and we actually use this heavily in our workstation space, where we'll send a standalone media from Configuration Manager to Dell, and it will actually boot up in the factory and run to 90% completion. And then they'll box it and ship it to you. So when you power it on, you basically join domain and do those last 3 steps that you require network for, and then complete the operation. So there's a huge time savings there. I also want to mention the Dell Client Integration Pack. That's the client side that's similar to the Dell Server Deployment Pack. There's some integration pieces for configuring BIOS and things like that on clients during OS deployment, enabling wake on LAN, things like that. Sorry, that slide must be on a timer. And I don't talk that fast. Let's see. Now, kind of into the systems management lifecycle, there's the OMSI inventory extensions and the OMCI inventory extensions. Basically, this is information if you're running one of those agents provided by Dell. You can collect that additional information through Configuration Manager by extending the SMSDef-MOF, if you're familiar with that. So you can actually pick up things like the DRAC IP address, is wake on LAN enabled, those types of settings are all there once you extend hardware inventory and Configuration Manager. The client and server update catalogs I'm going to show you real quick. We'll be able to leverage those through Configuration Manager when you're doing your normal security patching cycles. Another one that's very handy to me, I mentioned warranty status. It's actually part of the client integration pack, but I wanted to point it out separately because it does work for servers and workstations, and it's pretty slick how it works. Basically, you can schedule this to run on a regular basis, or you can just kick it off whenever you'd like. But basically, it will query Configuration Manager for all the Dell systems that are in Configuration Manager and take those service tags and hit Dell.com and return back warranty status information as well as the ship date information. So all that information from when you ordered the system and the current warranty status can all be integrated directly into Configuration Manager. We provide a couple reports for that. If you don't want that data into Configuration Manager, say you have a CMDB or something else, you can specify a different SQL string or something like that to actually import it to a different database. So let me flip over here real quick. I'm going to show you the Dell Server Deployment Pack, just briefly. Hopefully my logon will be faster, we'll see. And also while we're here, I'm going to show you the update catalogs. I had kind of 2 demos with a slide in between, but I'll just briefly show you both of those so you can see how those fit in. Thinking. Maybe.
Just one quick comment. While we are waiting, one quick comment. I wanted just to say that this the deployment solution that we have can work on the 2007 System Center 2007 and 2012. So can work with or without the lifecycle controller in our servers. So this is a solution that can span across all the portfolio of System Center from 2007 to 2012, and for our server starting from the 8th generation up to the 12th generation.
While that's still thinking, I'll flip back over and show you that other slide that I mentioned for software updates. So there's 2 catalogs. If you're familiar with System Center Updates Publisher, these are basically catalogs that can be consumed by SCUP, System Center Updates Publisher, and then you publish those in the Configuration Manager. Like I said, we have a server one and a client one. Basically, you publish them into WSUS using SCUP, which Configuration Manager uses, and then when Configuration Manager synchronizes from WSUS, basically those Dell updates will appear just like security updates and other Windows updates and things like that directly inside the Configuration Manager console. Hopefully I'll get a chance to show you that briefly. But you can think about that if you've already done security patching through Configuration Manager, right? Once it's in your console, there is one additional step you have to do so that Configuration Manager will be able to determine the applicability. There's a thing called the Dell OpenManage Inventory Agent that you actually deploy first through software updates. Once that's done, then inside of your console, you'll be able to see if an R710 needs a latest BIOS version or those types of things. So if you're trying to baseline, all your E6420s, for example, to specific BIOS or firmware or driver updates, you'll be able to see that information and deploy those directly in Configuration Manager. And it also happens in your normal patching cycle if you want. It actually shows up in the same dialog that you see for security patches. So that's pretty slick how that works. I'm not sure if mine is going to actually log in here or not, so I can look at that for a minute and we can keep going, and if you'd like, I'll come back to it.
Turn off the network.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's off.
Okay, so I think that we are waiting for better connection. So while we are waiting, just a way to wrap up. Basically, what I would like to point out is that OpenManage, that is our system management solution portfolio, has been providing solution that is going from discovering, monitoring, controlling, and optimizing. So from change management, from optimization, we have been focused on the hardware management. This is where we have been working so far. However, Dell is doing more than that. And the good news is that we started as sometimes is defined from element management, so whatever is the hardware infrastructure, and we are moving on to convergent operations, meaning convergent infrastructure, the management of all the hardware layer, meaning network, storage, and compute, all together, connected, and with a piece of software that is able to configure, that is able to deploy, and so forth. So we are working on that. And the solution is not complete if we don't move up to the service orientation, that is the service management, meaning what Brad was talking about today for the clients is exactly the same that happens for the server. You want a specific application, there is a profile that is defined for the user, and you can download that application and you can then use it. So Dell is already providing that solution. This is our way to the cloud. There was a presentation yesterday talking about this. We have a product called VIS that I invite you to ask more at the booth, and we will be able to provide some more information regarding what we have available as of today for a private cloud solution. So, say that, I would like to emphasize our solutions are going through a common denominator that is the approach that we take in order to provide enterprise architecture. So it's not just for the compute, it's the same kind of tenets that we use for simplicity, integration, and automation. It is the same that we use for our server line, for our storage line, for our network line, and for all of the solutions that are put together by our service group. So basically, it's a kind of, let's say, similarity, if you want, a common denominator, as I said earlier, in the approach of the solution to the customer. So we want to be innovative, meaning we want to provide always the best thing that is available to our in terms of technology to our customer. We want something that is simple, that is easy to use, easy to implement, and we want to keep this openness, meaning flexible, in order to grow based on what is your target in your company. And we want to keep also open. We don't want to lock you in a standard or whatever we create. We want to be connecting and preserving your investment with the console or the system management solution that you have. Say that, I think that we are ready. Okay, so I pull back.
Back to me for a minute? Great.
Okay.
All right, just briefly, I just want to show you a few things inside of the Configuration Manager console. Once you install the Dell Server Deployment Pack, you have a few options that you can do with it. Basically, you can start off by creating a template for a Dell Server deployment. And we'll see if it pops here quick. Yeah, so basically this is just kind of a wizard to get your template set up for OS deployment for servers. I've already created one, so I'll cancel that. Once you create a template, you'll see when we open this up, you'll have a couple action items that you need to do, such as specifying a boot disk or specifying a WIM or something like that. Then you see your normal task sequence that you're familiar with in Configuration Manager. You'll see there's a few new settings up here at the beginning, such as setting a BIOS configuration. So if you have a standard BIOS config that you use with the Dell Toolkit or something like that, you can import that INI directly into here. If you just want to do specific BIOS settings, you can also do that as well. So you can just add your command lines to actually set specific BIOS settings straight in your task sequence. So that's pretty slick how that works, as well as configuring iDRAC. You can do that from there. I did want to add one and show you that. And I'm going to add a new action, and it's going to be for RAID configuration. Basically opens up a wizard, and you can actually leverage Configuration Manager task sequence variables. So if you leverage variables very heavy with your OS deployment process, you can configure those. And let me just get through a couple steps here so I can show you quick. So for the first controller, I can add some variables just like you do in OS deployment, right? So I can actually make one. We'll call it SharePoint, for example. Equal to whatever, you can set it to whatever you want, right? And then basically apply this RAID configuration if that variable is true. So, and you can actually go in and build out the RAID 10, whatever you'd like there. So that's pretty slick how you can do that. So that's the OS deployment. I do want to show you quickly with System Center Updates Publisher. You can deploy specific BIOS or firmware settings, but you can also deploy bundles. So for example, if you want to deploy a Dell R710 bundle, we can find R710. You can see a couple different versions that are currently available. Publish those into Configuration Manager. Again, this is using System Center Updates Publisher. Once you publish those in the Configuration Manager, then they'll actually show under Software Updates. And like we mentioned, this works for both 2007 and 2012. And if I search in here, I should find the R710 bundle. Right. And then it's just your normal software updates process at that point, right? You select download, it'll actually go download them from Dell.com. You can send them out to your distribution points like you do everything else for software updates. And you can deploy them, and you can choose to make your own deployment for those, or you can bundle that with other security patches and other things that happen at the same time. So that's a pretty good user experience. Real briefly, to me, this is a pretty big secret and it's very handy for me, so I wanted to point this out as well. And by the way, you can leverage this with MDT if you use Microsoft Deployment Toolkit or other things. So this is the Dell Repository Manager. Basically, when you start out with the Repository Manager, it goes out to Dell.com and pulls in a catalog. And then if you want, you can slice and dice that up. And I'll just quickly slice it up a little bit. Let's say I only want to look at Windows systems, and I only want to look at, we'll just say M610s for now. So you can see there are a couple bundles that are available. Once you have that, if you'd like, you can export that and make your own repository. So in the future, basically you just load this up. What's great about that is once you do that, you can hit the magical compare button, and it'll compare what's currently on Dell.com to tell you if any of those updates that you have changed, right? So you can immediately see if there are any new updates for your system. So that's great. The other great thing that you can do with this, and again, you can slice and dice, add as many models here as you'd like. Then you hit export. And there's a few options here that you can definitely leverage with Configuration Manager. One of them is a raw driver pack. So if you are doing apply operating system drivers through Configuration Manager, right, apply a driver package, you can use this if you want to create those, a folder basically of all the INF, syscat files that are required. Great for MDT. I didn't show you in the Dell Server Deployment Pack, but you can actually run through a wizard to do that in the Dell Server Deployment Pack for Configuration Manager. But for MDT or something, you can leverage that. The other thing that we use is this exporting to lightweight deployment scripts. One of the things that Configuration Manager wouldn't do for you by default is update firmware, right? We talked about doing that with the Lifecycle Controller, but Configuration Manager applies drivers, driver packages, things like that. You have to basically install firmware separately. So you can create these lightweight deployment scripts, and basically for each model that you have, each PowerEdge model that you have, you'll have a batch file script that basically will execute all the firmware that's required for that system. Same thing for like the Broadcom application, right? When you're doing apply drivers, you get the drivers for Broadcom, but you don't get the application. So if you export to a lightweight deployment script, then you just add this into your OS deployment task sequence. Like when Windows is up and running, you tell it to run the command to install the lightweight deployment scripts. Basically, it will install all those things that you selected through Repository Manager. Again, you can use that completely outside of Configuration Manager if you want. You can use that. We actually put it in Run Advertised Programs in Configuration Manager 2007 for our server team. So if they're doing break fix on our server or something like that, they can just go into Run Advertised Programs and baseline a system. So it's pretty slick and pretty handy. I think that's all I had, so we're ready to go back.
Right, thank you. Thank you, Greg. Can you hear me? Okay, so thank you, Greg, and thank you, Tushar. We are wrapping up here. We will have a few minutes for some questions. However, before that, I wanted just to conclude with a couple of few more slides that are talking about how we started from an analysis from a business responsiveness standpoint, business ready, IT to be business ready. And what we want to communicate to you today is with our current product and the direction that we are taking, we will be there to support your needs in terms of being agile and being providing an efficient management solution for your data center. Now, I think that this is wrapping up the part that is regarding the presentation. Few recommendations. One is that we are providing some demos at the booth, and there will be presentation or demos regarding the monitoring capability, what we have today to provide solution for the cloud, the private cloud, the vStart solution. And we will have also information regarding our future plans and the direction we are taking with OpenManage. So I would like also to invite you to take some of the DVD that Sandra has created for us, putting together the portfolio, the OpenManage portfolio. And we have all the version of the product that we have today in this DVD. So please take one copy that is very useful for you to play with. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so...
I have one other thing to add real quick, Enrico. Okay. I just did want to mention, you really have the people that own these System Center products here. So go to the Dell booth, give them your feedback, right? If there's things that you like, things you don't like, things you'd like to see, you really have the people here that can make the difference. And if you have technical questions, there's a lot of the Dell IT guys here as well. So if we need to, we can have a little meeting, discuss, make sure that you understand what we can do and we understand what you need. So keep that in mind.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, so if there is any question, I believe we have the mics here, so feel free to come up and ask questions.
All right, can you get, when you're talking about the ability to do discovery, if you've got a local OME, OpenManage system server already set up, can configure that your SCOM go over there, communicate with it, and do the discovery with that, or do you have to only do the discovery inside?
Through OME you mentioned?
You're talking about OpenManage Essentials or SCCM, you want to... Yeah, so you want to import the discovery, okay. Yeah.
No, so today we don't let you import that OME discovered environment because when we talk about this out of band, especially on the 12G side, we're doing that smash-based discovery, and OME database will not have that smash-based discovery. But that is something that we are working on as we gather feedback from more and more customers. If they already have the database of discovered environment, how do you just import it into SCOM? So that's great feedback. Yeah, that's something we're working on.
So you're talking about SCCM or SCOM?
SCOM.
SCOM. Okay, I got it. Now makes sense. Yeah.
And then the lightweight deployment, is it only for Windows right now, or does it include Linux?
For the actual lightweight deployment,
To create the script.
I actually haven't done it for Linux because I'm a Windows guy. We can walk through it and see if it does, but we can definitely get back to you and let you know. Sorry, I do Windows, but I know you can create a server update SUU disk. So I believe you can, but we can try it and see.
When you're deploying firmware on the next reboot, is that like the 12G server, or is that?
11th generation and 12G.
Yeah, as we said, we started with the 11G to put this lifecycle controller out-of-band capability, meaning all of the 610, 710, okay, they can't do that. What's the more? Yeah. So iDRAC 7 has completed the lifecycle management, adding and monitoring to the lifecycle.
Yeah.
All right, can you also talk to your local repository to get the bundles that were already downloaded?
Yes, that's the stuff. If you remember, I put the PDK catalog. That's the stuff that you downloaded through, let's say, repository manager, and you can. Oh, that's fine. That's the piece. I can demo it again in the booth. You just provide that catalog and say, okay, apply this. So yes, you can use the locally downloaded repository as well.
Okay, that's great.
iDRAC 6. Yeah, 6 was the one that we shipped with the 11th generation server. So iDRAC 6 and iDRAC 7 are the ones that have the embedded management capability.
There is another question there.
So for the SCOM management pack, did your visibility into the environmentals, so that was beta?
Yeah, so what I showed here was the beta code. It's going to be released in a few days.
Okay.
But if you want to get your hands around the beta code and start using it in your lab environment, I'll be glad to provide that.
We'll be ready for a few days anyway.
Okay. But by the way, you can use that with SCOM 2007 as well. I mean, just
We don't really have a 2007 stood up yet. We're going to run the 2012. We're doing preliminary right now. So
Yeah.
I'm just being here, knowing we have the Dell agent management pack available.
Yeah.
We'll be pursuing it.
absolutely. So 2012 is where you can take advantage of the
both.
out-of-band monitoring. That'll be the beauty of 2012 and our 12G.
So basically, the new management pack that is 5.0 will have both the capability. You can manage out-of-band, taking advantage of this capability on 12G servers, and you can manage with the SCOM 2012, and you can manage, if you have 2007, you can manage in the traditional way in band.
Through the Windows operating.
Still the same management pack, by the way. You don't have to have two.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the vFlash is an extension. Okay, if you consider for a second lifecycle controller as a permanent memory, so you can extend that memory with a flash SD card that is external. So that is particularly useful in the motherboard replacement because that is where you can exactly recover all the configuration of the motherboard. And when you replace the motherboard because something happened, that is exactly where you pull the information from. So it's an extension of the lifecycle controller in terms of the memory capability. Any other question? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.